Up first, ladies and lords, gear up for a sharp shooting stage who fuses legal finesse with digital dazzle. The brilliant brain behind Andromeda, the trailblazing Nintendo publisher pathway, powerhouse of Web3 games. As a compliance king and a Securities Exchange Commission pedigree, this lawyer leaves loopholes limping. Welcome to the panel, the ace of Andromeda, the law's not so loose cannon. It's Michael Christine.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Currently booking my tickets to Dubai in 2 weeks. So see anybody there who's going to be there too.
Enjoy
Not
the
it.
floods.
My birthday gift to myself this year was making me not fly to Dubai because I can only take so many of those trips a year. Up next, this guy's got more hustle than a honey badger in a hot dog factory, a whirlwind of wit and wisdom, and a veritable veteran of video games with his passion for super spot. Damn it, Wills, I wrote a new intro for you and I didn't put it in the right spot on the board. I will save it for next week. He's a stud business developer at Avalanche and he's built like an ox big enough to carry Web3 gaming on his back. He's the Sultan of Smash. It's Wills.
It's so funny that your dad is pushing the Elon Musk book on you because my dad does the same thing. I don't know what it is with with dads and Musk. They love him. I don't know what it is.
We'll find out. I got 5 more days with him. I'll keep chipping away at it. Up next, never one to bask in bygone brilliance. You won't hear this man talking about his past experience at Jagex, King Mobile, Miniclip, or Rovio, but never content to coast on past conquests. He now spearheads a seismic shift with Warp, an all-in-one chain-agnostic juggernaut that handles Web3 from marketing to marketplaces, wallets, user acquisition, and more seamlessly spanning any blockchain. Welcome to the panel, the man who puts the bucks in Buxton. It's Matthew Buxton.
Hey, thanks for that. Banging intro. And yeah, I think the dad thing about Elon is like, you don't have to own an emerald mine or a sapphire mine, but you do hope your kid becomes the richest kid in the world, and still plays video games and enjoys their life. So I think dads have got that going for them.
That's true. Dad, if you can make that happen, I'd appreciate it. Up next, lock and load, fearless fans for a stellar sensation, a fiery, formidable, and far-reaching gamer aiming to catalyze and conquer with his consulting company, Glitter Cloud Solutions. Once a sharpshooter dropping foes with finesse, this dynamo dominates more than deals, crushing controllers from Tokyo to Toronto and back again. He's a supreme streamer. He captivates crowds with his charisma and clutch plays that light up screens. He's the king of kill streaks and controllers. It's Dub.
Holy shit, dude! It was glorious. I was told there's gonna be a new intro. I was freaking worried that it was gonna get in the shuffle like Spangler down there, R.I.P. buddy. But thank God. Wow. Fucking let me lather up in that for a little bit. My dad also hates Elon, so it's a bit awkward. We don't need to know about the rest of the dads. Don't feel like you need to bring it up. Let's have a good show.
Thanks, buddy. Up next, behold mortals, a towering titan who storms in from the abyss of the forbidden, carving cataclysmic chronicles that blaze untrodden trails through Web3 gaming. He is the indomitable intellect forging my angry Yakuza girlfriend, a volcanic visionary who wields wisdom as divine lightning, a behemoth of bold tastes and brazen taboos, the Renaissance rebel that shakes up the heavens and strikes fear into peasants and gutless wanks alike. It's the titan of taboo. It's Sinjin.
Oh, Sam, I'm fucking blushing. You said all the nice things about me. It's like basically how I fuck up everybody in Web3. Hey guys, I love Elon. He's such a fucking nerdy loser that, how can you not love him? He's just a superpower with those billions of dollars. So let him be, let him cook.
Let him cook. I will. Hopefully, he cooks Twitter Spaces to a point where they're no longer broken. That's the only cook I care about. Up next, he's worked on games that have brought the worlds of Game of Thrones, Star Trek, The Walking Dead, and Archer to interactive life. But he's not just a master of adaptation. He's a problem solver, a platform pioneer, and a champion for creative freedom. For the past 5 years, he's dedicated the expertise to Beamable, a revolutionary infrastructure platform designed to unshackle game designers from the tedious technicalities and let them return to their true passion, which is crafting captivating experiences. He's a facilitator of fun from Beamable. It's John Radoff.
Hey, Sam, thanks for having me here. Always a blast to be on. See a lot of my friends here, people that have been on the live stream recently. Sinjin, good to see you again. Just had a conversation with Kevin this morning on the stream, even though he's not here right now, but I'll just talk about him behind his back because he's a cool guy who can definitely handle it. Knock, got a message in DMs to you. When the fuck we gonna get on that live stream? You've got the message. Like, give me your TG already. We'll get that happening.
Wow, Knock. You let me down earlier today. You're letting John down. I mean, what are we doing here, brother? I thought
Yeah.
100 episodes deep, we had something here with the gamified panel, but I guess not. Just gotta hang out in RuneScape Wilds, and maybe we'll get our DMs answered.
Yeah, don't worry. He'll let us all down for the next 2 hours.
Up next, he swapped sterile boardrooms for taking a stab at gaming greatness. This diehard devotee revolutionarily rippled this. I didn't write it right. It spawned a Black Mirror episode this season, which also I haven't watched yet. As a streaming sorcery mesmerizes massive mobs with captivating charisma and pixel pounding passion, he's a leading light in Web3 esports and a parallel reigning TCG trailblazer, catching commanding conferences draped in his legendary pot of greed jacket as the parallel pack rat in the mosh pit monarch. It's Koji.
Yo, what's up, guys? As a dad, Elon Musk stinks, and listening to Americans praise Elon is like, I don't know, listening to Romans praise Genghis Khan or something. You guys are insane.
Shout out Genghis, dude.
Genghis Khan is. I want a Netflix special about him so bad. Great shout out.
He was one
Koji,
of
of
the
course.
best cons.
And we know something about cons here in Web3, and Koji's checking in live from the 51st state. Up next, he's a wizard weaving web traffic and a cunning connoisseur commanding captivating conversations and colossal conversions. At the helm of Uptick, he's the audacious architect assembling audience adoration, and he's the man in the arena on AVAX's social media hosting shows. You've marveled at his meteoric metamorphosis from the golden fraud to the glorious gleaming golden god forged in fiery furnace of gaming greatness. It's Jerry, the golden god singer.
Hey, yeah, it's ironic we're talking about fathers and all these things because I feel like I've fathered this whole industry and sunned all you bitches for 2 years now. But yeah, I'm very excited to be here, and Sam, I hope I don't disappoint your father the way I disappointed your mother.
Holy shit. And his dad's
Yikes.
literally there in the room, man.
And no, his mom was quite cross with me like a few months ago. She feels like I lied about some of my stats.
Yeah, dude. He's been pumping those
Yeah,
numbers
Jerry's
for far too long.
disappointing women. That's Jerry's thing.
This is super true. Super true. Me and Elon have that one thing in common. Maybe a couple others.
Jerry also hiding 14 children that he claims not to have. Up next, ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a whirlwind of wicked wit and wondrous wisdom. He's the masterful maestro, morphing maddening mayhem into crystal clear, captivating clarity. He's the Michael Jordan of meticulous mouse clicks, stacking sky-high stashes of RuneScape riches. He's the magician of Magic Eden, making sure your NFTs are perfectly priced and placed. Go answer the door. It's Knock.
Listen, anybody who's concerned about where I am or why I'm not answering messages hasn't been paying attention to fucking Twitter the last 2 days. Dragon Wilds is live. That's where I am. New day,
God.
still playing RuneScape,
Oh
same but
God.
different.
Yikes. Yikes. We're all worried for Knock on this blessed day. Up next, behold a slinky, spectacular serpent from the shimmering sublime sanctuary of Lizard Labs, ticking the scales at a svelte 2.4 pounds. This tiny trailblazing titan is ready to rock it, so clap those claws for the little is a legend. It's Lambs.
GM, it's good to have you back, Sam. And yeah, it's weird how Gamified has just become the de facto place to call out people to check their DMs now at this point. It's just like, it's kind of like sort of networking, but sort of like, hey, why the fuck haven't you answered my DMs yet?
Two things can be true, and we got to get ready to howl with excitement as we welcome the Alpha, bringing the Blizzard of benefits with a flurry of fantastic games. It's Avalanche, the leader of the blockchain Blizzard, the one and only official chain of gamified. The Wolves now are en route to the chain, known for its frosty and formidable L1s, to dive into the firefights of off the grid, conquer the competition in Shatterline, and enjoy the nostalgic world of Maple Stories. So why aren't you and gamers get ready to go gaga for Game 7, the gaming giant that's giving growth a gigantic boost? They're not just building bridges, they're blasting through barriers with brilliant blockchain breakthroughs. Geez, we're a little rusty. With Summon, they're conjuring the secret sauce to keep your players glued to their screens. And with Hyperplay, they're hyping up the portal to instant Web3 access with no friction, just fun. Thanks to them for being the official infrastructure of Gamified. And get ready to blast off with Star Atlas, the official game of Gamified, and its sensational preseason spectacular. Right now, you can plunge into a galaxy of captivating content, explore exotic exoplanets, and engage in exhilarating expeditions, and experience the evolution of gaming graphics that will redefine the cosmos in Web3 gaming. Get a game key to the preseason by joining the Star Atlas Discord right now. All right, guys, we're jumping into a juicy topic number one: sentiment score on Trump's supposed Monopoly-style Web3 game. Bill Zanker, who is part of the team that launched the NFT and meme coin, is the one leading the charge on this game. It's said to be a Monopoly-style game that most likely is a mobile version of Monopoly Go, especially if you've seen those revenue numbers, which are absolutely ridiculous. I think it's over $2 billion now. Also, some speculation on the timeline that maybe it would be using Trump's coin, which could be kind of cool because those unlocks are about to start, and that has everybody nervous. They had a 90-day unlock period on his meme coin that they launched previously, and everybody's kind of waiting for the shoe to drop there. So what's your sentiment score? 1 to 10, 1 being, this is garbage, I wish it wasn't happening. 10 being, oh my God, it's sent from the heavens to save Web3 gaming. What's your sentiment score on Trump's crypto game? Real quick, a couple of tweets to just give us a couple more opinions here. Johnny, aka Hustlepedia, said, while it could be bullish to expose more people to the Web3 aspects of games with real money involved, overall feels like a grift. Just my 2 cents. And OG says news outlets now will have to explain what is a crypto game to millions of viewers. A couple of interesting thoughts there. Let's go to Koji first.
Yeah, I mean, I said it privately, but I'll say it publicly, man. This is a 1 for sure. I don't know, like even just like previous track record, he's not doing so well with almost anything. So like, I don't understand why anyone would think this will do well. His meme coin pretty much called the top. So is this game gonna like destroy crypto gaming now as a narrative or whatever? But I don't know, man. Like I understand why people will want to hope that it could be something amazing, but like those are the same people that are probably telling you he has a plan. So take with that as you will.
I've gotten a few people already telling me this is going to destroy Web3 gaming, and I already feel like we're halfway through seppukuing ourselves. So I mean, take a shot on goal. What the Dub? Dub, I saw you throw a couple of thumbs downs. Over to you, bud.
Yeah, he has a plan, first of all. Second of all, yeah, we have to be stoked on this because first, yeah, the meme coin didn't do well, but it ran to crazy fucking numbers. And he is the president of the United States. And all of the even though they're satirical, it's like those SEO rankings, common knowledge of what crypto gaming is, the fact that it's the Monopoly game format that we're stoked about YGG shipping out coming here too as well. It's like validating for LOL land and everything, I think, which is a big deal. And fuck it, dude, he's going to use the NFTs as well. I'm going to go buy a couple of those in speculation, being able to use those as monopoly money or houses or whatever. I'm going to put all Trumps on all the borders, and fucking we're going to ball and play the game. Like you got to be excited about this, even if it's a fuck up. It's good for like just the narrative and everything of where we're at. And because we are committing seppuku on ourselves at the moment. So, we got to do something.
Wait, what's your number though, Dub? Did you say? Sorry.
Oh, dude, like 9. Give me 9. Yeah.
Dang, casual
Wait.
9.
I gotta say one more thing that I forgot to say. Almost everyone on this panel knows how hard it is to make a game, or has like been in the sphere of somebody trying to make a game and knows like how insane that process is. Now imagine trying to do that while you're the president. And then of course the argument is, well, he's not going to be the one making it. It's just going to trade on his name. And I'm like, okay, that's probably true. But do you actually want somebody to use the highest level of office in America to sell a game? And if your answer is yes, like you guys are fucking cooked, man. Maybe you should become the next province of Canada.
I wouldn't say yes to that, but I also would say if you gave me the option between him using the name to sell a token that has no value for billions of dollars or sell a game, I'd say sell the game.
Yeah, but it's not or, it's both. He has both.
Yeah, exactly. Might as well. The goose is already cooked. Let's go over. Let's tag in Sinjin here. Sinjin, your thoughts, sentiment score here on Trump's Monopoly Go.
Oh, this is really interesting. My sentiment score. Oh, Jesus. Like I'm actually I think it's hilarious. I think it's a sentiment score for builders like a 10. The reason why is because he's gotten rid of crypto enforcement and he's gonna launch a crypto game, which inevitably, the guys who have pitched it to him, are gonna include like a bajillion gotcha box like slot, mechanics, and they're just gonna full on just make it a gambling whatever monetization machine. And so like in terms of for the builders, I think it's like we were complaining about like the lack of regulation or the amount of enforcement on something that wasn't very clear, and now like it's clear, just do whatever you're gonna do. um but in terms of like the effect for Web3, like once again, like this panel thinking that this really affects us, we're all peons here, including myself. I mean, whatever the president's doing is whatever the president's doing, and like how it really reflects on Web3 gaming as an industry, it doesn't. Like it's not really gonna equate. But in terms of like what like the damage is gonna be, well, obviously this does not end well. Like anyone who thinks that it's gonna end well, buddy, I don't know where you've been living. But will it have a splash? Will it introduce people to it? Will they get traumatized by it? And will it destroy like the kind of the idea of other celebrities making video games? Yeah, probably. And maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. So sentiment score for Trump and how funny this is going to be at 10 for the industry, a 1.
I look forward to Jason Derulo's fast follow crypto game that'll be coming out just weeks after that, I'm sure. Matthew Buxton, over to you.
Oh man, Sinjin kind of took the take that I was going for there, but it would be hilarious if he manages to pull off a crypto game where he uses his token with utility, he uses all of his NFTs, and he gives all of the things that we were playing around with and trying to do for the last 5 years and fucking up majestically. And of course it's going to rug. Of course it's going to fucking rug. It's a Trump game. But my God, it's going to be glorious. It's going to be fucking amazing. And if he pulled it off, he's going to suck every last little bit of liquidity out of every single little Ponzi game that everyone's doing. And then it's going to fold. And that's going to be even funnier.
And then we'll all drive to real utility. ...
Yeah, no, I think what's going to happen is it's going to potentially kill all the Ponzi light games by sucking the liquidity, a bit like trying to launch your game around the same time as GTA 6. It's not going to be pleasant for the other people in the market at that point, but people who are making real games that don't compete with that audience, probably fine.
The legend of the trickle down crypto economy is long behind us. John Radoff, over to you.
So sentiment on this is the square root of -1 because this is fucking imaginary that this could ever come to be an actual thing, guys. Come on.
That's a high quality math joke right there.
Yeah. So, like, I get the Trump coin as a meme coin because meme coins are supposed to be fucking Ponzonomics. Like that's the whole point of them. Like, so I get that he'd lean into the grift there, but the last thing gaming needs is just another thing that's gonna get mass media consumption, and every person in MAGA world who doesn't even know what crypto is right now suddenly thinks of some new Trump game as the way that they're introduced to this industry. So to me, that's a train wreck. But we know that this game is not going to come to be anyway. It's not actually going to get made because we know how hard a game is to make, and this thing's just going to implode like every other grifty Web3 game that's been attempted that hasn't been built by a real team. So imaginary is my sentiment.
Damn, that was a banger. Michael, Christine, I want to hear from you next.
Yeah, I'm gonna call this a solid 10. And the reason I'm calling this a 10
Woo!
is because it takes about 7 years for the tech adoption curve to happen. NFTs became a really huge thing around 2020, 2021. So what this is going to do, even if it's a grift, even if the game sucks, what it's going to do is it's going to make the entire world talk about crypto-enabled games. It's going to lay an exact precedent for games to launch tokens, to launch NFTs in a compliant fashion, because they can literally say, well, the president did it, so I followed suit. So it's going to provide a lot of regulatory clarity in the industry that people aren't realizing. That's going to be such a benefit. And yes, you're absolutely right. I think it's a grift. I think people are investors are going to flock to it. But then I do think if it succeeds, investors are going to absolutely be fully reignited, trying to catch the next big Trump wave in terms of Web3 gaming. And I actually think it could be the catalyst, if not the top where it was with the meme coins. I think it's going to be the catalyst of the Web3 gaming cycle, not maybe this year, but into 2026 and into 2027. Because if you look at the tech adoption curve, 2026 and 2027 is the expected date where Web3 gaming actually starts to really take hold if you look at past technology adoption. So I'm super bullish on this. I think Trump's meme coin, yes, was a grift. Yes, was the top. Yes, sucked a ton of liquidity out of it. But it's still, I think, generated more revenue than the entire 51st state has since like 2020. So overall, I'm extremely bullish on this. I think it's going to make headlines. People are going to be talking. Investors are going to now be interested in the space. They might not have had any exposure to the space before, and they're like, "Oh, Trump's launching a crypto game. Maybe I should look into crypto games." So if you're a builder, you should be hyped. If you're in this space, you should be hyped. I see zero downside to this.
Yo, this guy read that it was coming out for Switch or something. I have a question though.
You were going to publish it. You're going to try and publish it, aren't you?
Did,
I
did he
swear to
did
God.
he catalyze meme coins? You know, I don't think he did. So like, I don't see
No,
why
but
this would be a
meme
catalyst.
coins had already like run its course by the time he launched his meme coin. Web3 gaming is down bad, and nobody on this panel can tell me it's not. Where can Web3 gaming go right now? Because it's dead. No one's talking about it. No one wants to hear about it. No one wants to
He
listen
said the
about it.
thing. He said the
Trump,
thing. I
Trump is going
coined
to
it.
revive the narrative of Web3 gaming just because he's doing it, because everything he does gets news, gets headlines, and the world is going to be talking about our industry again.
I
Who
didn't
the
hear you.
hell is
What
bearish?
what is Web3 gaming? I
Right
didn't hear
now,
it.
on life support, and we need to revive it. And Trump's going
I
to
heard
come in
dead.
with his efficiency chainsaw and revive the shit out of it.
That was a banger. Regardless of if you agree or disagree, I just love the dissenting opinions. It makes me happy. It's my love language. Let's go over to Jerry. Jerry, your take on this one.
First, I would like to say that I'm going to place my vote for MVP now, and it's for Michael Christine. And I would follow that with saying I think this is like a 5, like a hard 5, because and how do I land at that number? Is because I think half the people in the world just hate Trump and hate everything that he does. But like those of us in America know that like half the people we know love the guy, and we are always like, why? Like it doesn't make sense. But if he launched Trump steaks today, everybody would be a fucking meat eater. Like they would eat nothing but red meat. And I think that the effect of like the cult leader effect can't be ignored sometimes. And I think when you're like making something like a game, like do we expect the game to be good? No. But I think Koji said this once, like you could have an infinite amount of time and an infinite amount of money and still not make a good game. And I think that is very applicable here because they don't have a lot of time, or they probably haven't put a lot of time into this, rather a lot of money. And like the game is not going to be good, but are a lot of people going to just download the game because it's a thing that Trump said to go and download? Yes, and like we know that that's going to happen because it happened with the meme coin. So you can argue if it was a top or if it was a catalyst or was it a death knell. I don't know, and I don't really care because like that's not the topic at hand. That we know that people are going to go download it because we've seen the effect of it before. So I think that can't be ignored. Hopefully, good things come from that. But it's like I think if you have high hopes for this being like the catalyst, is like go look at Trump steaks, right? Like you were promised filet mignons and you got fucking like lunchroom Salisbury steaks, right? So this like a lot of people will pay attention. Do a lot of people stick around and like hang out and join like these spaces and bullshit with us? I don't know, a few people, but not a million.
Yeah, definitely not a million. Let's go over to Knock next, and then we'll tag in Sinjin.
um, Fucking hilarious. I think there are only two correct scores here. It's either 0 or 10, and I'm gonna roll with 10 just for the chaos. I've decided to stop fighting insanity, and I'm gonna roll with it. I think it's gonna be great. I think the irony of Trump launching a Monopoly-styled game while pissing off the four largest U.S. debt holders on the planet and slowly turning that dollar into Monopoly money is fucking incredible. It is just the funniest thing in the world to me. Um, I think that this, to Jerry's point, to Michael's point, yes, it's going to get downloads. Yes, it's going to get plays. If anybody believes that this is somehow going to change the narrative around Web3 gaming, it's the cognitive dissonance is just fucking astounding. It is like generational levels of stupidity. We saw this happen with Trump, right? Trump coin launches. Oh my God, he saved meme coins. Melania launches. Oh, did he maybe kill meme coins? The blinders went on, and then the next thing he announces is a game, and everyone's like, yo, this will save Web3 gaming. Like, where the fuck were you 90 days ago when he absolutely destroyed the fucking market? What are we talking about? It is absurd. The dude, honestly, I've spent the entire topic here just laughing because I actually love all the points on both sides of this. However you feel about what this is going to look like, I think it's an incredible conversation. But the thing that blows my mind more than anything is we're talking about a place where less than a decade ago the biggest controversy coming out of the White House was a particular president who wore a tan suit. And now you have a president on the weekend of his fucking inauguration launched a meme coin that he rugged, then launched a second meme coin that he rugged, and is about to launch a game that he's inevitably going to rug. You're talking about a man who bankrupted multiple casinos. He came to the ultimate casino, already has two bankruptcies on that front in Trump and Melania. This will be the third. It's going to be entertaining as fuck. It's going to be a stimulant to the ecosystem for a couple of weeks while it's here. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm no longer trying to fight these things. It's going to happen anyway, so I might as well enjoy the ride. I'm giving this a 10.
Dude, Knock, you said something that was like really like prescient there, and it's like that it was a stimulant because like those 18 hours of like post Trump launching, but like pre Melania was absolute euphoria. And what does Web3 love? Those flash in the pan brief months. Like, come on, we all still hold on to those moments, like when we minted an ape or when we did whatever and it was like it worked out and it shouldn't have. And like, I don't know, man. I went to fucking Shake Shack after I like bought my Trump coins and came back and I was like, well, what the fuck just happened? Like, I did not expect this to do that. I thought it was fake when I bought it,
Jerry,
you
that's
know?
not a good thing though, man. It's like I'm sure the
I know.
15 minutes
I know.
after you do a bump of coke is great until you realize it was
It,
cut with fentanyl.
not that I
It's
know.
not
My
great
friends
anymore.
would tell me. My friends tell me that
No,
yes,
it's still great.
it
It's still
is.
great.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what crypto loves is that euphoric moment that doesn't last, but we think it can. So I mean, I don't know, man.
Yikes. Off the rails doesn't even begin to describe it anymore. Let's go. Let's go over to Sinjin.
More like snorting rails.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
I'll be quick. Yeah, Michael, you're like I had so much respect for you, and I still do. But like seeing this part of you, I'm just like questioning my thoughts on reality. I'll just be really quick. Like what Nog said, yeah, I completely agree with. And here's one thing, okay, guys. You are not Elon. If Elon goes and makes 17 or 14 babies, it's not available as an option to you. If Trump goes and launches a Web3 game, you know what? He is going to get it done. And it's going to be a clone of Monopoly with some crypto gambling stuff. And, for him to publicly say it like this, how family offices work, where it's like, hey, dad, guess what? We got this deal and these are the partners and this is the funding. And I think it's a good idea. And they pitch it to him. And then he's like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. That's like every family office ever in the world where like they're pitching daddy for like whatever and they're have the team ready to go. That's how it works. And it's just gonna work and it's just gonna be for Trump. And that's it. Michael, if you say anything, in my opinion might go lower, but yeah, knock yourself out, buddy.
First, I want to go to Jonah, who's joining us as well. Then we'll tag in Spang and we'll circle back to Michael, who kicked off the chaos.
The realist retard with a ransom of ramblings, Jonah Blake. Thanks, Sam, for the introduction. I really appreciate it. Um, so yeah, uh, I actually think this is going to be. It's going to be so much more viral than Off the Grid could ever spend money on and try to be. It's gonna get the most downloads since Axie Infinity times 10. Also, if you're a mobile game company, because that's probably who's going to want to do this, uh, you will be lining up to try and kiss Trump's ass to try and make this game because making a mobile game is already very expensive and it's mainly through user acquisition cost. You have Trump built in, a free walking ad of the largest famous person on the planet of the earth. So this idea that he won't get a game done or it won't be half decent, I think is bullshit. If that happens, his team is literally retarded because any game publisher or any game studio would lend their resources for a revenue split of this kind of game. That's one. Two, a Monopoly Go style game already has a blueprint for a financial game. It's again, it's not the best game in the world. It's just extremely well advertised and well like psychologically imbued. Three, he has the largest install base, which is Republicans. So it'll automatically be the most downloaded Web3 game ever. And when it launches, it will be the biggest game in the world, period, for at least that week. That doesn't mean the game's going to be good. It just means it's going to get the most downloads of any game in that week or that month. Every single gaming YouTuber, every streamer, everyone's going to be fucking playing it. And that's all going to be earned media. And if somehow his team actually manages to make a good game, then that'll be millions upon millions of new, real, not fake, because we all know it's fake, real wallets on a chain. So if I were a chain right now, I would be I would be tossing his fucking salad. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, get that man a fucking grant for your chain. And the funniest shit is it's probably gonna be Solana. So all of a sudden, Solana's done barely any game marketing and is just gonna mop the fucking floor with all these L2 chains who are gonna be sitting there with their hands wondering how the hell this happened.
Can I add one other just like hilarious point to what Jonah's saying is like if you like who like runs mobile right now is like the Turkish and the Israeli companies. And I just think it's gonna be hilarious that like a non-American team builds this. And I hope it kind of does become the biggest game in the world. So like Trump has to be like, I fucking outsourced it. You know, we went offshore for it.
To Ukraine. To Ukraine. It's going to be Ukrainian devs building this. I swear to God.
Hold on. Is this how they figure out how tariffs work when he has to pay a fee on fucking foreign labor on this product?
If this game works, the next game that's coming out is basically Royal Match, but Elon and all the gems are really hot women. And if you match them, you get enough babies to get a super baby roll.
Oh my god.
Super baby. I love that.
Let's go to Will Spangler. Then we're circling back to Michael.
Yeah, I don't know. I really liked what John said about it being imaginary. Not because I'm a math nerd, because I really appreciated that joke. But I'm a 10 on this if it never happens. If we get all the hype about Trump wanting to build a crypto game and we get all of this, what is a crypto game? Let's discuss what Trump's crypto game could possibly look like. All of that media coverage, and then he doesn't end up doing it. I think that's the win-win. We get people interested, and then they're like, "Oh, well, this crypto gaming stuff is already happening, and we don't have to suffer the massive shitstorm that Trump coming into a market is, as we've seen." But we do get the hype and the normalization of the discussion, which I think is super important. But yeah, if it does happen, hold on to your fucking britches.
Hey, thank you for that comment. One thing I agree with on what Jonah said is, hell yeah, if you want to actually build this fucking thing, like Beamables in, like we're the only one who's hit the scale of a Web 2 game at scale that you're gonna need for a Web 3 game like this. So sign us up. We'll support this thing.
You go, John. Take it up the ass right now. Kiss some ass right now. You're doing it.
No.
Swallow it
He's
We'll
all.
just
actually
toss
No,
the
listening
I'll
right
salad
toss that
back
now.
to
salad
him
Michael's
in
too.
the
going to jump
ass.
in. Michael's going
The
to
other
toss the
way
salad
around.
next. Let him toss.
All right, all right, all right, all
I
right.
may or may not have already texted my friend who I know has a direct contact to him. So we'll see what happens there. But
But can I respond to Spank? So I
yeah, dude.
completely disagree. Let me tell you why. If Trump is that serious about making a crypto game, and he looks at it and he goes, "Damn, Web3 gaming's dead. I don't want to do this." Everyone's gonna be like, "See, even the president agrees. Even the president of the United States agrees." So if he wants to do this and he doesn't make the fucking game, this industry's cooked beyond belief.
That'd be tough. That'd be tough. Let's go back to Michael Christine, and then we'll probably move on from this insane topic.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say is I feel like a lot of people are looking at this from the standpoint of like, oh my God, it's Trump. He launches so many things that fails. Whereas, like, really, you need to be looking at it as this is the biggest narrative that's going to be driving the world. And why do we not want every media outlet, every person, every like family dinner talking shit about Trump? Sure, but talking about crypto gaming. Right now, people sometimes hear the words crypto gaming and have no idea what you're talking about. I still talk to people who think crypto gaming is only little clicker games on Telegram. So if this normalizes the words crypto gaming and makes that phrase or on-chain gaming or web3 gaming a household name where it's a regular conversation topic, I think this is a win no matter what happens. And as a builder in the space myself who's going to publish a shit ton of web3 games, I'm hyped about this because the narrative is starting to change, things are starting to progress, and laws or precedent, if you will, are going to be made if this game rolls out that this industry desperately needs. That for me as a builder, provide me a lot of fear and caution in terms of how I move forward. So I'm excited about it. I think it's gonna actually surprise a lot of people. I don't actually think the game itself is going to do well, but I think it's going to have very positive impacts on our space, just from a narrative perspective, from a VC starting to look at the space again, all these different things. Because it's the Trump, if the president of the United States is like, I like crypto gaming enough that I want to launch my own game, that's going to raise a lot of eyebrows for people being like, wait, why am I ignoring this space so much? Maybe there is something to come back here and come back to. So to the naysayers, we'll see what happens. Just like these tariffs, we're going to see what happens by the end of the year.
Now I
Okay,
understand
you
how
get
this
to
guy
publish
got
the Trump
elected, man.
game.
This is crazy. You guys are fucking crazy.
It's the Kanye West School of Marketing Psychology. I would rather be called a Nazi than just not be talked about at all. Send it over to you.
That's exactly it. Okay, like no matter what, okay, it's just like what Trump did for memes or what Trump did for all of his real estate projects or his casinos or his business ventures or his educational ventures or whatever. Like, I mean, like, fine, but let's not get it fucked up and convoluted between attention and like a fucking bad rep association. It's like the same thing as like, okay, well, we're Subway and we got like really like huge attention with our Jared the pedophile dude. And like, yeah, we're fucking rocking now. I mean, like, hey, we
Question:
love this association.
Do we have a good rep right now that we're like in fear of hurting? Because if we do,
Yeah, but why
I
are you
haven't met
expecting
him.
a shortcut here, man? This is gaming. It's going to grow organically with gamers, right? I mean, what Trump does and how successful it isn't going to trickle down. That's the whole point of it, right? Like, I mean, if you think that is the case, that's fine, right? But I think just completely delusional. That's not how industries are made. It's not made on intention. It's made on actual like adoption and like organic growth, and that's what's sustainable. Yeah, we're gonna get the speculation back on, and maybe people will get an investment for a little bit. But when it crashes, and people will say, "Well, the president couldn't fucking make it work," then like, what the fuck is gonna be the options there?
Then we call George Bush and we get him because we know you'll align with that, St. John. You can't fool me
No, the
I
twice.
next
love
step is
George Bush and George Bush Sr. Yes, I cannot lie. I love those. I love the Bush family.
Now
I
let me
just
hit this drive.
if Michael's right and we have to wait till 2027 in order for Web3 gaming to be adopted, and we have a a crash of Web3 gaming further after the Trump game, it's going to be a long 18 months of gamifying while we wait for things to come back. So please, for the love of God, let's have a little bit more sustainability in the meantime. Jonah with the hand up. I'll give you a quick 30 seconds, then we're moving on from this one.
Well, I'm excited for when this is called AIified because that's where we're going next. I've already, by the way, I've already started building the bridge so I can invite you guys over. Um, but yeah, no, the thing about gaming is nobody can tell you what you can or can't make. That's why indie games are so cool. So I'm not here to tell Trump what he can't build, and ultimately it will generate millions of wallets. And any chain right now would be begging, like, please, please, Mr. Trump, anything I could do. Like I'm telling you right now, every BD is flying to DC in their half-assed suit to beg for this game.
I don't doubt that.
I'm going to go for the Melania fashion game. The Melania fashion game is definitely going to be the next one.
Hey, Kim was printing money on that one. All right, guys, we're moving on. Big deal, little deal, or no deal. Treasure is shutting down its game publisher and some significant downsizing. They're doing a much needed pivot due to their current financial situation. In 2024, they made about $200,000 in revenue, but they had 40 full time employees with about $9 million in annual burn rate. Clearly unstable with their revenue numbers. They have $2.4 million in stable coins and approximately 1.5 million in Magic, which is their native token, assuming it hasn't gone down since then. With that in mind, they made the call to kill their game publisher and their blockchain. They turned off the blockchain, which some people will just call a database if it can be turned off, pulling the grants that they have laid off all staff related to this, pulling grants and have laid off all staff related to this. I think they went from 40 to 15 employees, if I'm getting that number right. And with these changes, it extends the company's runway from July 2025 to Q1 2026. Treasure's new focus is on AI with the likes of Smallverse and returning to the roots with DeFi. Despite this pivot, their in-house game studio Darkbright seems to be unaffected. It raised $6 million in 2024 to develop Smallbound, one of the games. So big deal, little deal, no deal for Treasure shutting down its game publisher and chain. Curious if you guys think, and I know especially in I don't know months or years past of gamified, we've been saying, oh, more chains need to be game publishers, more chains need to be game publishers. Does this have a little like chink in the armor there now with this, or is it just because Treasure wasn't ever really set up to be a game publisher? Let's go to Jerry first because I know he's been beating that drum for a long time.
Yeah, no deal. I think it's just like uh, we had this topic, I think Monday, Sam, where we kind of talked about this, and like I don't know. I, I just want to ask the question of like if you remove Beacon and Smallverse, like who played Treasure games, right? Because like I couldn't really name one besides those two, and I really like those teams. Really like Mike, love Beacon, but outside of those two, I could not tell you the first thing about Treasure, and I think that is just generally kind of the consensus with like the people that at least we run with and talk on this stage. I'm not happy to call anybody a liar who disagrees with me. So like I just don't think it's a big deal that like a company that is a name that we all knew, but nobody really followed super closely is shutting down, right? And like I have a friend who has a Web 2 game that's doing really well right now. And he's very like crypto curious. And like his publisher sucks for that game, right? And publishing is just kind of hard. And I think if you remove Beacon and you remove Smallverse, what did Treasure do a good job of building attention to or helping market or helping publish? And I don't have the answer to that. I would love if somebody could tell me I'm wrong, but I just don't think it's a big deal that a publisher that wasn't doing its job very well is shutting down. And I don't think that should preclude other chains from trying to do that what they were doing and just doing it better. So I say it's no deal. More of it's going to come, and it's probably not going to be a big deal when those teams shut down either. So hopefully, not too many teams are affected by it, but ultimately, I think like we're not really going to think about it very much in a year from now.
I want to tag in my co-host Lems for the first time. Lems, what are your thoughts on Treasure shutting down? And is this the death knell for publishers in Web3, or just a blip on the radar? Big deal, little deal, no deal.
I think it's a moderate to big deal because they were trying to like put themselves as like, oh, this indie publisher. They're going to have like these, the Arbitrum games. But it was like Jerry said, what was the real game that stood out apart from the Beacon? And it felt like there was this weird blurred line between Arbitrum gaming and Treasure gaming. And then they left Arbitrum, which felt really weird as well. And it was just no clear thing of what their ecosystem was actually doing and what they were trying to build out, because as we know, games are hit driven businesses. How many titles were they publishing that they were burning all this money over the whole period, right? Like, surely if you're playing the role of wanting to be a publisher, you should be signing a bunch of games knowing that a bunch of them are going to fail, yet this whole time they're burning a lot of runway, evidently, with a lot of employees, but they're not signing new games. So it's probably the right move from them, but man, it's just like it's another one that makes the industry look bad, that we just had all this money that kind of just got evaporated and there's not really much to show for it. I'm glad Beacon just pivoted away and they're just like, we're going back to Arbitrum and we're still doing our thing. So at least like they're not dead in the water and they're not really affected by it. But man, it definitely makes the whole industry look bad, and we're already in this Web3 gaming is dead narrative.
I've got a lot of thoughts on this one personally, but I don't want to front run any of our great panelists. I'm going to send it over to Dub. Sorry, guys, I don't know what order the hands went up in, and then I'll go to Michael Christine again.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the timing of everything right now has me saying like medium or lowish deal on this. Like, everything's just so fast. Like, I would have felt better about this plan or whatever their plan is going forward if it was still like being cooked on for another month or something before made public with this like fruition, and there's just so much marketing behind it so quickly. I feel like they spent more like on the marketing of this whole thing than the actual plan itself, and leaning on a known successor like Smallverse or whatever, and that like no one really dove into anyways to begin. It's just, and then the AI stuff, it just feels like a copy of what we've seen in the market already, and that hasn't been like proven successful yet so far. So it's like the combination of all that just has me not feeling great about it, but could be proven wrong. That's why I'm still like kind of medium on it. Like, at least they're not dead, and at least the doors are open, and they can do stuff. And even though this is like the facade right now, it doesn't mean they find some shot on goal that works out in the short term.
Yeah, respect to them at least for pivoting without just going straight into bankruptcy. I like that at least. Let's go to Michael Christine, then I'll tag in Spang.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is one of the smallest deals ever because game publishers shut down all the time, not just in Web3, but in Web2. If anybody here, have you ever heard of Versus Evil? Probably not, but they were a solid publisher for a while. They shut down in 2024. Like game publishers shut down every other day because this is a hit-driven business. If you're not driving your business the way you should, your studio is gonna shut down. A studio that's only made $200,000 ARR and they have 40 employees, of course they're going to shut down. What other path did they have, unless like that's insane to me. So I'm going to say very small deal. This type of stuff happens all the time. It's the reality of business, and I think slowly but surely the Web3 space is starting to understand the reality of running actual real businesses that have actual real products that need to hit margins, that need to extend runway, that need to hit certain benchmark metrics. I think a lot of this is forcing the space to really mature in a way that it should have been when everybody was receiving all this investment money in the first place. So, very small deal, just the natural progression and maturity of an industry.
Great take. Let's go to Spang, then Matthew Buxton.
I'm going to say that this is a big deal because I think that the question of chains as publishers is really interesting. Because first you need to look at what are publishers supposed to do. They're supposed to that they can do a variety of things, but they're supposed to have a vested interest in making the game succeed and picking games that are going to do well and succeed to benefit them in the long run. And traditionally, what that looks like is providing financial and marketing support. And from a chain perspective, those incentives don't entirely line up. And I think we've been seeing this for years, right? With the difficulty that chains and games have with aligning their incentives with each other. And can a chain be a publisher? I think is the big question that's looming here. And potentially, I would say, is the answer. But I don't think that negates the need for traditional Web2 publishers because you have to think that, we know that there's a limited amount of users, traditional gaming users in Web3. But what we can do is target those valuable Web3 users really well. You come to a chain, you want to attract whales. We can provide you with the infrastructure, the ecosystem, the connections that will allow you to thrive in a Web3 manner. What we can't do is run millions of dollars in UA for you because that will not go well. And we do not have the expertise in that. So, what I think this kind of shows is that chains aren't going to replace traditional publishers. And I don't think that there was any worry of that happening, but this was an experiment in trying to do that. Where I see the potential for a lot of success is the combination of chain support and traditional Web2 publishing. Because when we look at games and when I look at games, one of the first things I want to understand is how are you guys going to market? What does your marketing plan looks like? Because as we all know, marketing is make or break in this industry. And I think that that's something that we can assist with and other chains can assist with, but it's not something that we can front run. So I think the collaborative effort between Web2 publishers and chains from a Web3 perspective is what's going to really lead to the most success. But yeah, it's a huge bummer that this wasn't able to go through, but I think it provides a really awesome opportunity for the rest of us to learn from.
I don't know if anybody knows off the top of their head how many games Treasure signed, but just doing some, quick math, let's say 98% roughly of games fail to get traction in Web3 gaming or return any significant amount of revenue. If you're working with a budget that's not that big and you sign, let's say, 10 games to your chain as a publisher, I don't like the odds that you're going to find any level of real success, just from a balance sheet perspective. So I feel like they were always kind of doomed to fail by taking that approach to begin with. Maybe I'm wrong there. I'll send it over to Matthew Buxton and we'll tag in Jonah.
I think that was a fantastic layup from my friend Spang there. I mean, I do believe, as someone who actually works and founded a publisher, that publishers and chains should and can work together. And I don't think chains should also be publishers unless they have a specific reason and they're specifically built on that model. If you're built to be a chain that is meant to be used for sort of DeFi, and it's meant to be used for games, and it's meant to be an underlying tech layer, which is permissionless and allows anyone to build on it, you don't really want to be in the business of publishing games specifically. You want to be in the tech business where you have loads and loads of different success cases, so that your chain can naturally evolve in the best Web3 decentralized way into doing what it does best. And unless you're specifically setting yourself up to be the gaming chain or a chain about games, you shouldn't do it. But if you are specifically setting yourself up to be a gaming chain that wants games on your chain, you probably don't want to actually be earning money from your on-chain resources. You want to be earning money from the game's success. And Sam, you're pretty much right when it comes down to finding games and their success rate. But most Web2 publishers basically plug themselves into the analytics of a game before they actually say yes. So if you've ever had a game published by Voodoo or a Green Panda or Quali, they literally hook themselves up into your numbers. You can't fake it. They will run the test themselves on your game, and then they will be able to say, based on all of the other millions of games that they've seen, and they have seen way more, that this game has a chance of making it. Not only does this game have a chance of making it, this is the audience size, this is the ad spend that we're going to do for this one, and this is precisely what this team's like runway and deadline should look like. There is no way in hell that 40 people who probably don't know shit about game publishing should be costing 9 million a year, like or whatever it was. That is just insanity. There's some people are being incredibly overpaid there for doing what they've done. I think it's a nothing burger. I do think that chains have their own role to play. I don't think that a gaming chain can't exist as a publisher, but I think that publishers definitely should learn from at least the money management side of not fucking up, and don't publish shit games, basically.
Jonah, I know you've been on the marketing side for quite a while. We've talked about, chains as publishers. Your thoughts on Treasure, but specifically publishing as a broader approach to, I guess, having an impact for the games that come to your chain.
I still believe in that thesis, and I still believe it's required. I think for every bad test case, there's a good one. I think Immutable was a fantastic publisher for that MMO. I don't know why I'm forgetting it right now, but the one that just came out that got a bunch of users. I think in many ways, Abstract is a pseudo publisher for Cambria, and certainly a publisher for Bitcoin. I think Treasure just didn't have the wherewithal to know what games to pick and why and who their audience was. They also just didn't have enough funding, and I think there's the what the idea of publishing is changing. Um, I'll give you an example. Why is it that Schedule One is made by one dude and it beats out uh, Assassin's Creed Shadows made by Ubisoft, and the cost is dramatically different? I think the reality is that publishers need to understand and think more like, blitzkrieg, boots on the ground, trench warfare marketers than they do just as investors. Mainly because most blockchains don't give enough money to a game for it to be even considered a real publisher. But every multi-purpose chain, including the one that's sponsoring this show, Avalanche, I mean, that looks like a publisher logo right there to me. I mean, I'm pretty sure they run a unit where they have a lot of creators, and those creators are making content for Off the Grid or whatever the other games are, right? And they're coordinating and creating culture. So I think your sponsor is a great example as to why even chains realize that that's required.
Well said on that one. Koji, tagging you in, then let's go to Sinjin.
Yeah, I mean, I think this point was already made, but basically, we're in a highly volatile space as it is. Like, I mean, game publishing is hard. You add on Web3 to that, and things are going to fail or not succeed in the way that we had hoped. And sometimes that failure or success isn't evident right away. Like a lot of what we've seen is companies go under almost immediately. And so when something that's lasted a little bit longer goes under, we're like, oh, it's shocking. But like if you think about it, you look at like any industry, even things that were titans at one point end up failing. So like I don't think this is it. To answer the original question. I don't think it's a big deal, to be honest. And I also think that it's hilarious that people on this panel are talking about real games and real metrics and real this and real that in the same breath that they were like, yo, this Trump game's going to be off the fucking hook. You guys are insane.
Except the Trump game is going to be endorsed by Trump and not developed by him. And if you were a mobile publisher, like Royal Match, spending at least 100 million or close to that on Royal Kingdom and not having the best user acquisition on that, and you have Donald Trump, the number one influencer on the planet and leader of the free world, saying, I will talk about this game while I'm at the fucking White House. Yeah, you bet your ass that those mobile studios will take that shot if they can get a shot at it. And that gives him a better shot than most games because he has unlimited funding to do it.
I'm like not to revisit this, but I'm like a 3 on the Trump thing, unless he gets Supercell to make this shit, and then I'm like a
Well,
45. Okay,
Supercell would never make this.
I know, I know.
It would have to be like a. It won't be Scopely either because they already have one. Unless they, it may even be something where Scopely just partners with Trump and they add it as a new live service season in Monopoly Go, and maybe they have some sort of crypto rails. That would be the best solution.
The Diablo Immortal NetEase strategy. Don't
Yeah,
make
that would be the best
don't break my
solution. Is
heart
they make
again.
yeah they make a reskin with some crypto rails. It's still made by Scopely using the same code, so it's out of the box to a degree, and then they just do work on top of it as a mod. Yeah, that would be the best option.
All right, before we get lost in the sauce, let's go to Sinjin. Then we're tagging in John Radoff.
Yeah, I think this is a little deal, and I do want to like shout out to the treasure team for being like taking action. I know like we looked at like and we heard all the video and the proposal and we're like, wow, like you spent this much and you did all this and you guys are idiots. But relative to the space, they're pretty responsible, I think. Relative, right? And a big part of that is that their grant program was killing them because the token had devalued so much and it was being paid out in their token to like a US dollar value. And this has really impacted like not just them, but like every chain that's given out any grants and they've like pegged it at a US dollar and they didn't manage their treasury properly. I kind of always feel like in Web3, it's like a whole bunch of like virgins like getting into having sex and like never watching any porn at all, and just not knowing what to do and just like discovering it. Wow, we just found like missionary or this style. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like, hey guys, like this is the style you should try, this is what you should do. And they just don't realize that like there are things that are already kind of like known and done outside. So but it's like in terms of publishers and stuff like this, I think there's the traditional publishers and there's mobile publishers and PC publishers, and they're very different, right? But I think like with Web3 for the chains, I think in some ways, like if we're not talking about strictly publishers, but like marketing channels that are specifically for Web3 and then that kind of know-how, I think at the end of the day, it's like, yes, like chains and Web3, quote unquote publishers, they don't really know what they're doing quite just yet. But it is a different game genre, and it's not like they can't learn. And it's not like that games don't need that. So if you think of a game publisher as simply just investment, well, I think that's a little bit weak in the sense that like yes, but everyone's investing. I mean, like, but what is it there more of? Like, where is like the kind of way to make that game really successful, right? And then mobile, obviously, it's a lot of data and analysis and test markets and stuff like that. And PC, it's kind of like understanding, like, what is this game? Is it going to really, resound with its target market? Is it like competitive enough, so on and so forth? And I think for Web3, we're still figuring these things out. So I don't want to be too hard to the treasure guys. I think they've done what they can do considering it, and relatively I think they've done all right relatively, but yeah, it's not a big deal. I think we're still learning so much.
John Radoff, I want to hear from you on this one. Then we're going to go to Hantao, who's joining us from the audience as well.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think we should salute anybody who tries things in earnest, whether they succeed or fail. And startups, they fail most of the time, and that's fine. That's part of the process of discovering what works. And we should actually celebrate that there's people out there actually trying to do real things. The higher level question to look at is what what is a blockchain really, in terms of like what is really a gaming blockchain, for example? Is it distribution, meaning it's more like Steam? Is it a platform, meaning it's more like PlayStation? Is it really a publisher, or can it really be a publisher, meaning it's more like Electronic Arts? There's very different incentives in all of those. In a chain, as I understand, I haven't launched my own chain. I'm launching my own token and a protocol. But for a layer one chain, my understanding is they're all ultimately motivated by how many wallets can they have and how many transactions can they drive through the network, because that's where value creation is going to come in terms of their layer one. So, they're just looking to drive lots and lots of transactions at the end of the day, which is not necessarily always aligned to the kinds of games that people are going to think is most fun. If you look at the incentive structure of distribution platforms like a Steam, they just want to have the most users. They don't really care how you've built and what the technologies are. They just want people to come and slap down their money and pay them the 30% for being the place you buy. If you're a platform like PlayStation, there's a big technology bar to overcome to even get your software on the platform. So for them, they're really all about lock in. They want to get developers locked into the platform so that they can't leave, and then entice them with incentives so that the device, the PlayStation, for example, becomes subsidized by all those other um, software developers that become the only place you can get highly rated games. And if you're a publisher like an Electronic Arts, like really you don't care about any of the above. You're really just about revenue and profit maximization of your portfolio of games, and you'll go to whatever technologies, blockchains, distribution platforms, and platforms that you care to have. So I feel like we're still discovering in blockchain what the role of what a quote unquote gaming blockchain really means, as distinct from just blockchains in general, and how they can ultimately add value. I will say that if you look at chains in general, it's pretty inconsistent level of quality. And I'm not going to point any fingers whatsoever here, because we are a friend to all, I will say, but there is a inconsistent level of quality of actual gaming expertise amongst the so-called gaming chains. And they all want games because they think it's going to drive a lot of transactions and open up the mass market. But wow, some of the people that are on these teams have never published a game, have never built a game, barely understand the technology of games. And that's interesting to see them going after that. And it just points to where are the real incentives there, and where are the incentive misalignments.
Bunch
I
of
will.
virgin.
I'll double down on that, John, and say
I had to follow sex talk from Sinjin, so I did the best I could.
I've had some absolutely painful meetings with quote unquote gaming chains that made me never want to talk to those same quote unquote gaming chains again whenever it is clear they just had no idea what they were talking about. And this comes from a guy who's relatively new to the gaming industry. I'm just a passionate lifelong gamer, but even I was like, Jesus Christ, these guys know nothing. Let's go over to Hands Out of the Tag and Knock.
Yo, what's up? So gaming, especially for publishing, is very long-tailed, and I'm gonna try to make my thoughts a little bit more clear so Sinjin doesn't call me a virgin. But right now in Web3, I think people are not really like they understand, but they're still being forced to choose. And what they're being forced to choose from is two sides. One is where you have to monetize through volume and transactions. This is your exchanges, marketplaces, which have a business model right now in Web3 that exists that makes money. Similar like trading platforms like Photon, Bolex, etc. And then there's another model which is a lot more sustainable, but it requires a lot more long-term work, which is your Web2 model of acquiring users, getting them to spend money, um, and being a normal customer. And those people do not exist in Web3 right now because the majority of the people, like 99.5%, are all there to min max, even the whales and people who are able to spend. So I think the problem right now with games, especially, is that they're choosing more of the latter, and they're not really getting the true monetization or revenue that they are supposed to be getting if they were in Web 2, because they're just building for the wrong audience and going after a Web 3 audience. As a side note, I don't know if you guys have talked, but why the fuck did Base just rug 3 tokens?
Yeah, seeing that on the timeline as well. Wasn't sure if we should bring it up or not. Obviously, we don't know a lot, so I don't want to get into it too much. If anybody wants to give a hot take, I suppose we could allow it. First, though, let's wrap up this topic. We got 2 more hands. I want to go to Knock, Matthew Buxton, then I got to hit you guys with an ad read, and then, well, the floor is your guys. Knock, over to you.
Yeah, I want to say that this is a big deal, but not because they shut their doors. I think both Jerry and Michael Christine covered really interesting points about why that's pretty common. I think the way that this happened is maybe a little more concerning. I think it's important to note that Treasure is a DAO, and the both the grant system as well as the decision for a lot of this to happen was voted on by the collective. And I think depending on which way you look at it, this is either an argument for a DAO in the ability to sort of course correct, or the argument against the DAO in the, I guess, the ability for a DAO to direct your overall strategy for the course of a couple of years, which was the strategy to deliver the grants, to open up the marketplace, to build the blockchain, to separate from Arbitrum, to build a unique, isolated ecosystem was the decision that was voted there. And I think more than anything, this is a conversation, once again, about whether or not DAOs can actually be effective, because it's the most recent example of a DAO that held voting control and power over a lot of things that happened within this ecosystem that failed. Um, so I think that that's really important. The other piece that I think people sort of glossed over is that there was very clearly like some amount of infighting and struggle for power going on behind the scenes here at Treasure. That video that was posted, I don't know if anybody watched it, looked like a fucking proof of life video. It was crazy the way that that was delivered.
Oh, no.
Just absurd the way that that was all delivered. And there's a silence from the previous leadership team. There's a random abrupt stop of functionalities within the ecosystem. You had Diego from the Beacon, who built it, literally tweet about how something crazy has happened. We're no longer going to be on Treasure. We'll have an announcement when we figure out what's actually operating. That's not how businesses should be running. That is just an insane thing to do to the one title that was actually operating well on your blockchain. So to me, that signals some stress and concerns about the way that this was operated. Also, to be running a blockchain, a publishing arm, having your own game studio, and a marketplace, effectively entirely owning the whole ecosystem of everything that goes on within your network, and only bringing in $200,000 in revenue. Clearly, there was like monetization issues as well. Like to me, when you said that number, Sam, I hadn't heard that before. That's absurd to me. When you control every aspect of a closed ecosystem, and that's what 12 calendar months bring in from like a revenue perspective, when you have titles like the Beacon who have raised $4.5–5 million via NFT sales, that feels a little weird to me. Not sure how that played out that way. Yeah, I think all in all, big deal because of the conversation about DAOs, because of the way that this was handled from a business perspective. Publishers shut down, chains will shut down. Not everybody can be Ronin. This is very clearly the Ronin model. Hey, we own the chain, we own the biggest games. We own the actual wallet and the marketplace that you'll be transacting on. Like it's clear what the idea here was, and for a while it seemed to look like it was working. But I think some combination of what looks like from the outside, again coming from a place of pure ignorance, purely speculation, what looks like some infighting as well as some decision making from the DAO. I think that's the bigger story here, and I think that that's a pretty big deal.
Man, I'm just as shooketh. I mean, the Ronin example is a good one. If you're a DAO with, less than 10% of the money of Ronin, and you try to chase the same business model, it just seems like that's a interesting decision. I guess I'll leave it there. Matthew, over to you, brother.
I mean, look, I'm never going to basically turn around and say, I want to start a car company or a logging company or a rocket company unless I'm a bajillionaire. this is what has happened in this space. People saw JPEGs go up, and then they were like, what's the other thing I can do with JPEGs? Games. And then people who had never even played games made games. And now, if you're a publisher who's never published games and you're talking to the same kind of people as you that have the same kind of interests and have never made games before, and this isn't really exclusive to Web3, there's quite a few founders, OG founders who never made games or were not gamers before they started incredibly successful game companies. But they're fucked either way, right? Because you have a bunch of people who don't know how to make a game and you don't know how to publish a game. And then you talk to these people, and what you both say to each other sounds like it's making logical sense from a tokenomics and all the rest of it point of view. But it's already doomed to fail because no one, like you can say, oh, game's doing great because it sold a bunch of NFTs. That's not a real fucking model in the rest of the world. Like selling games at the start and then apparently providing infinite support for the endless like of your game. This is not how it works. You don't just like we found in games that those one-time purchases, like $10 for this really cool item, fucked your game economy. Like we found that out years ago. You sell one permanent item that gives someone else a boost, you will be wanting to grandfather into a different game to remove yourself from that burden. So it's the blind leading the blind, and I mean the crazy pub like conversations you've had, Sam, with chains and stuff. I've had the same thing with games. Literally trying to say they've invented perpetual motion because they have a lot of transactions on their chain that they run. And I'm like, but who pays for the chain? Oh, it's fine. We have a lot of transactions. None of it makes sense. If you were to go outside of the bubble, that doesn't make sense. But these people get funded, and that doesn't make sense. So we do need real, genuine people who know what it looks like to have a business and don't have a run rate of like $9 million with 40 people who outsource all of the dev stuff, decide to make a console, then decide to do other stuff. I don't think it's a DAO thing. It's literally a lot of inexperienced people wearing Crocs, smoking vapes, and then not having any fucking clue about what they're doing. But because you've got enough money, it takes you a long fucking time to fail. And so for me, it's not much of a deal, but it does clear the way for other people in the space to do well.
I feel personally attacked.
Yeah, Koji once ripped a vape while
Yeah.
we were on a Google Meet together, and I said, "I'm never working with that fucker. That's for sure." No, he never has, but there are people that have done that, and it's such a weird red flag to me. It has nothing to do with their business acumen, but it just like triggers something deep in my soul. It's like, well, don't sign a contract with that fucking guy. I don't know. It's innate. Anyway, Avalanche is the king of gaming chains, the official chain of Gamified. Join us for a shivering shootout and try Shatterline off the grid. Two of the hottest games on the coolest chain. They're conquering the cold with cutting edge technology and a community that's as frosty as it is fierce. So bundle up, bring your A game, and craft your very own L1 to service all your blockchain gaming needs. And giddy up, gamers, get ready to gallop into the Game 7 Nation, the glorious gaming galaxy where players pack a punch. They're signed with over 150 games, speaking of publishers, and 30 million wallets ready to rumble with their mega MetaMask partnership. So come join the digital nation and get your citizenship so you can level up your life. Thank you to Game 7, the official infrastructure of Gamified. And of course, this isn't your average space sim. It's a cosmic cocktail of stunning visuals, deep strategy, and player-owned everything. Build your own spaceship armada and explore uncharted worlds with your friends in Star Atlas. But Star Atlas isn't just about spaceships and lasers. It's about building a community, a galactic civilization where players write the rules. So if you're ready to trade your boring Earth life for a cosmic adventure, join Star Atlas Fleet today and hop into the Discord to grab a game key. Thank you to the official game of Gamified. Star Atlas actually just posted, I think yesterday, a really interesting, unique movement mechanic that they've added into their first-person shooter that I think is really, really cool. I think it's going to level that one up a lot. We move on though to the next topic. Well, I guess, Hantao, do you want to talk about the base thing? You want to just tell us the current status of what's going on over there?
Yeah, sure. So Jesse tweeted that they're going to be coining things on a platform called Zora and to follow the base account on there. And they coined a token called Bases for Everybody. And apparently, a bunch of snipers sniped. I would estimate like 50% of the supply. Other people are saying like they see 30%, but I estimate it's higher because he told everybody where they're going to deploy from. And those snipers essentially just sold everything and one clipped it from, I think it was like 15 mil FTV down to 1 mil FTV. And Jesse is defending it as a, what is it, a culture coin?
Yeah, and they
for
launched the
most of
second
that.
token too, right? Like that was what I think caused the big downward
Yes.
spiral. They dropped another one. It was like Trump and Melania, but like 15 minutes apart.
Well, they released like 3 tokens from the base account, by the way.
That's
Rogue
spicy,
intern would be really funny if that was true.
spicy at best. Anybody want to weigh in on the madness that's unfolding here, or should we wait for a little bit more? I mean, meme tokens and chain drama not typically on our radar. It looks like basically every influencer under the sun on Twitter is talking about it, but nobody seems to have more details than what Hantow just laid out here.
Yeah, probably just don't tweet a ticker from the main account of your chain when you have all these people waiting for you to drop a token.
That sounds so outrageous. It might just be the right answer, Lens. Well done. You solved it. Up next, let's talk about a new game mode that we're trying to introduce here. We're calling it "Send It to Zero." Yes, a little pun not intended with what just happened with base. What genre of game in Web3 would you suggest no one invests in strictly because the genre just does not work with Web3 technology? Talking exclusively about Web3 game genres that will just never work. In the past, we've seen Web3 attempts that match 3 games like Grapes. We had single player RPGs that we used to meme on because it just didn't make any sense. What genre are you sending to zero? Michael Christine had the hand up first.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but first-person shooters, send them to zero in the Web3 gaming space. And I'm not talking about Web3 gaming, I'm talking about every type of gaming. Unless you're a legacy title who's been around for, multiple years, like the Call of Duties, like the Battlefields, like the Rainbow Sixes, like any of these legacy type of brands, you're gonna crush it. If you're not one of those, you're gonna end up like the literal several hundreds of games that are first person shooters that launched over the last 10 years, that maybe out of all of those hundreds of games that failed, around 7 of them succeeded. So if you want to take those odds, be my guest. But I like to see game development's very expensive. We're already in a very niche industry. Maybe stop trying to make it harder for you just because this is the type of game that you like to play, despite the fact that every single signal, radar, etc., is telling you if you develop a first person shooter, there's a 99% probability that it's going to fail, even higher probability. And that's not just Web3. I'd say in Web3 it's even higher probability it's going to fail. I'm talking about all of gaming. And I can, if you want to die on this hill, I can go down a list of so many games that had so much promise that again failed, most recently obviously being X Defiant. So send it to zero, stop making first person shooters, get more creative. There's so many different game genres out there that can succeed. Let's go.
I love the controversial take right off the bat. Let's go to Spang, who threw the thumbs down. What's the thumbs down about? And also, what are you sending to zero, brother?
So the thumbs down is about this narrow perception that everybody on this panel seems to have of what an FPS is and what an FPS can be. An FPS can be more than team deathmatch and battle royale. That is not the entire scope of what an FPS. But I've said it once and I'll say it again. Have you guys ever heard of Destiny? Like, there are so many cool things you can do with a genre. And like making another battle royale, yes, absolutely send it to zero. But like, I was just playing an FPS that was a roguelike called RoboQuest, and has some of the tightest shooting that I've ever experienced in a game. It's super super cool. But I'm I always have to do that. No hate, Matt, but like, come on, guys, let's open the box a little bit. As far as like, what am I sending to zero? Um, Games that aren't planning on having more than 1 million users. Anything that doesn't require like scaled networks of people transacting and engaging with each other probably doesn't need a blockchain. Like, there's cool stuff that you can do with assets, absolutely, but if it's under 1 million users and they're not all transacting at the same time, just do it on web 2, like make a little indie games. I think there's a lot of cool stuff that can come from the indie scene that can be scaled up, but if you're not looking to have that massive interactable sphere, like there's no reason to overcomplicate things. And I think that that's what we in web 3 have a really bad habit of doing.
That was a great answer. I love the unique approach there. Let's go over to Knock, who we haven't been able to tag in early on a topic yet today. Then we'll go to Jerry.
Yeah, I was gonna say solo player games based off of a conversation we had yesterday on Solana Gaming Space, but I think that that's kind of a cop out. I don't think anybody really believes that there's, and if you do, I think you're crazy. But I don't think that there's any real belief that that's something that's really feasible from like a blockchain perspective. I'd say RTS titles. Um, I can't. I've tried to understand where blockchain components come into play and what that looks like for multiplayer. And I think that there's a couple of really interesting examples of unique takes on the genre in this space. But I think the overwhelming majority of them are going to fail. And that's in part because I don't think that there's a great story to tell from like a blockchain perspective, but also just in general, it feels like anybody who plays an RTS is probably at the absolute youngest 26 or 27 years old with any frequency. Most people who are younger do not play the genre. There hasn't been a ton of really new ones that have exploded over the course of the last few years. So for me, that's the genre that makes the least sense. It's also the genre that maybe I have the least experience in, so I can't tell a story and I can't figure out what that story is from a blockchain perspective. I'll say RTS to give you a multiplayer example, but yeah, first person games or solo player games just is always going to be the answer. I just don't understand how it ever works out.
Knock trying to stab me in the heart with real time strategy games being the one he's going to send to zero. Spang, I saw another thumbs down, brother. You want it? You want the smoke?
I'm just 24 ripping RTSs quite regularly, so just wanted to flag that.
Thanks, buddy. I love you. Let's go over to Jerry. Then we'll tag in Koji.
Yeah, I think we all know Spang is 24 but 45 at heart, so don't know if he counts. I would
37.
say I would say MOBAs. Stop making fucking MOBAs, dude. Like, I just don't think like people just love the ones that they love already, and I don't like who is that company that just bought Heroes of New Earth and they're trying to be like, oh, we're gonna bring Heroes of New Earth back and it's gonna be Web3. Like, yeah, I guess, but like it'll be cool to try, but like I mean, do we all just see that not going well, right? So I don't know. I just don't think like there's gonna ever be a new MOBA that comes and like takes the place of League or Dota. So trying to do it in Web3 was like kind of silly from the start. And even some of them were like not bad. Like I actually kind of enjoyed that one, like Tearing Spaces or whatever. But like the world wasn't going to enjoy that, and the world is not going to enjoy like the MOBA that some random team is building right now.
There's the dagger to my heart, Sam. I fucking loved Tearing Spaces. I still think about that game all the time.
Dude, I
It
know
was good.
he's told me this every single week for the past 6 weeks. He brings up Tearing Spaces again and how heartbroken he is. That's not around anymore. I feel you, dude. All right, let's let's go over to Koji. Then we'll tag in John.
Yeah, man. I feel like me and the lawyer are going at it this week, but like I hate the argument that making first person shooters is hard, so you shouldn't do it. Like, if that's the case, that we shouldn't be making any games, honestly, because like all of them are next to impossible. And yes, like shooters are exceptionally difficult, but I think that like unless somebody has the um like the self-confidence, or like maybe it's irrational self-confidence to try and make one, like all what we'll ever get is just like Call of Duty like 11 or whatever, right? Like something has to come along and topple the tower, and like people have to be willing to give it a try. And maybe it's not going to be a Web3 shooter, but I think like you got to be open to that sort of thing. The other thing that I'll say is as far as genres that need to die, I don't think like this is a cop out, but I don't think any of them, man. We're no one has figured out, like, we pontificate endlessly about how to use chains and Web3 in games and blah blah blah, and no one's cracked the nut, right? So like to say, oh, we should stop making X type of game is ridiculous, because we need as much innovation and as much poking and prodding and testing as possible. Now, the one thing I will say is, like, if you're gonna make a game in a genre that's been tested in Web3, look at what has come before you and see why it didn't work, or how you can iterate on that before you jump in and make another version of the same thing. Because just being like, hey, I'm going to make a thing and the assets are going to be on chain, probably isn't good enough anymore, right? Like, that was like a highfalutin idea. Everyone's gonna make Counter Strike. It's gonna be on chain. It's gonna be great because now you're not stuck to the Steam marketplace. Well, guess what, man? Gamers don't mind the fucking Steam marketplace. So I think that like you have to have a better argument than that, and yeah, that's all it takes. But I would say like I'm not tired of any of them. Just keep iterating.
I had somebody tell me they were making in 2025 that they were making the first ever Web3 match 3 game. And my eyes almost rolled into the shadow realm. I don't know if they've stopped rolling since then. Let's go to John, then to the tatted lawyer once again.
What I'm setting into zero is just any game where it's being built or designed by a finance bro with an idea of what the gaming market is and what people want. And probably the only game they play is Madden once a year leading up to the Super Bowl. Um, that's that just hasn't worked for 5 years. It's not going to start working. But I will say this from a genre perspective, all you guys who are dissing like MOBAs or first person shooters, you think that like there's not more innovation to be found there. That's just wrong. Like if any time in the game industry has taught me anything at all, it's like there is always someone with a really innovative game mechanic that can be layered over something that already exists to break out and make a really big hit. And by the way, also things that are in genres that you've never heard of. And like when I made my Game of Thrones game, everybody told me this game was going to fail and that I didn't know what the heck I was doing because it had a very unique game system in it. And we shipped it to 11 million people and it did fine. It wasn't like mega hit, but did pretty well. So the game industry will always surprise you. Just have it built by teams that are earnest and sincere, and they're going to iterate the fuck out of things because it's really hard to make a great game. And you can go the distance with virtually any game as long as you've got the right runway, the right team, the budget behind it, and it's scoped appropriately so that you can actually accomplish what you set out to do.
Great take from John. Michael, I want to hear from you then. We're going to Sinjin.
Yeah, I just wanted to respond really quick to Koji. Koji, you know I love you, brother, but I think your takes this week are terrible. I never said that it was hard to make a first-person shooter game because I'll be the first to admit I loved, for example, like Splitgate. I loved X Defiant. I loved the one that had the destructible environment that came out in 2023 that I'm blanking on the name. I loved all those games. I played them. It's just I never had any hope that they would ever catch on because for some reason it doesn't matter. You could make the best game in the world. It could be the coolest game ever. You will not pull first person shooter players away from their comfort games, their cozy games, their cozy brands. And it has nothing at all to do with the game. And I think it has so much more to do with the market psychology of the players who already play that game and that are in that genre. So don't get me wrong, I love first person shooters. I just don't have any belief that a first person shooter without a legacy title can succeed.
Sinjin, what genre you send into zero, brother?
Yeah, not really a genre, but like anything that's a direct clone with a couple of features. I think they're all going to zero. And it's really funny is that because like the space is because it's like investor focused first, what investors want is a very easy one liner to say, this is what the game is. Like, we're going to be the next Fortnite or the next Counter Strike or the next whatever. And, that's not how gaming works. I mean, because just what Michael was saying about the competitiveness of it, um, that's really the heart of it. I mean, if you can't make a niche and you can't stand out, you can't bring innovation here, you just can't compete. And I think that's the whole thing was that, again, the euphoria and the speculative, movement of the market, covered a lot of those flaws. But the reality is, like, you could have a game that everyone says, like, hey, this is a really, really, really good game in Web3, and it's a clone. And I'll be like, yes, okay, fine. Because it's a clone, they made it really well because the specs are all there and they added a few features in. It's fantastic, right? But when that game goes head to head for like mass adoption in Web 2, okay, you don't think like all the Reddit warriors are going to rip it to shreds and like, ah, fuck, I played that game like 10 years ago. This is only like whatever. And even remastered games, like they just don't perform. You need something that it's not about the blockchain tech, it's about really innovation in the space. And, like, yeah, just clones, unfortunately, yeah, you might work well in the speculative market, but really you're definitely going to go to zero. And, I want to say that, while Michael has said that he doesn't agree with any of the takes that Koji has said today, I pretty much agreed with like all of them. And I think one thing is like, again, when we're here, like we have to be looking at it at a level where we're not quote unquote gutless wanks. Like we have to really be pressing for it, because the thing is, the more competitive something is and that's more like established, then we have to look at something that's more 10x, that's really gonna do something. And if it's not 10x, of course, fine, right? But I think for every genre or whatever like that, if you don't like MOBAs, then look at Wildcard. You don't like MOBAs, then look at like Sparkball. Right. I remember when I was first explaining my game to people, and I'd be like, it's a turn-based third-person shooter. And they'd be like, what? And like, can you give us an example? And I'd be like, Worms with like 3D, whatever, Where's Waldo, whatever. Like, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Right. Like, people's minds in Web3 are not there. Or you look at my IP and you're like, oh, that's too sexy. It's too R-rated or whatever like that. But it's the funniest thing that in Web2, with my Web2 friends in the game industry, they were like, that's fucking cool. Oh, that fucking IP fucking rocks. Like, oh yeah, like her ass is just so good. And it's just a total two like dichotomy in terms of like what our priorities are. So yeah, but like clones, like, sorry, I don't care what genre you are in, you're fucking going to zero. And RTS games, Doc, I'm so sorry. You're just not that good of a gamer, I think.
Did you just use Where's Waldo as an example instead of XCOM? That was a wild one. Let's go over to Matthew Buxton.
I'm gonna probably get the most hate for this out of anyone. But pixel art games. I'm sorry, pixel art games. Try harder, do better. Fuck pixel art games in Web3. You're
Wow.
taking the easiest way out. You're taking the easiest way out. You're making the shittiest art choice, and you're not even getting close. And the reason I say this is because I fucking love pixel art games. I love them so much, and I want them to be good. And I play them all the time. I play like Kingdom Two Crowns. That is a fantastic game. That game will suck your time, and you'll be like fighting off these little horde things. I played the pixel art games when they came to the phone, and they were like really beautiful, serene. Like, I love those kind of games. And we have murdered them. If I have to see another shittily done chibi character walking around with like a basic kind of like the RuneScape world that's just done in 2D, and like they try and do Stardew Valley, but they haven't spent 7 years as one person just crafting this again and again and again. Give it up, man. Like, I would never invest in that, because that to me says that someone doesn't give a shit about the craft of that game. There are certain exceptions to this, like Moonfrost and a couple of others, but generally, I do not trust, and I will never trust investing in pixel art games. I would just not do it.
That's a spicy one because there's a couple of decent pixel art games in Web3. Knock and Spang. I saw you guys slamming the sound
Really? Which ones?
well, I'm not at liberty. I'm not at liberty to pick sides here. I don't want to get.
Exactly, because many of them fake their numbers, right? Many of them fake their numbers and they're all bullshit. Like, this is what we can't say. They might be enjoyable, but they're not really actually going to ever succeed or make money.
Hey, okay.
Outside of Web3, there are tons of pixel art games that are super successful. In fact, some of the biggest out there.
Exactly. And that's why I think in Web3, I hate them so much, because I love them and they should do better.
Knock. What was the thumbs down about, brother?
I thought he was shitting on the fucking art style. I was gonna go in, but that ended up not being the case. So I generally
God,
agree with the
no.
take. One thing I just this is like tangentially related to this, but we've been talking about MOBAs a lot. I wanted to ask a favor to the panel or anybody listening. If you can send me unique MOBAs, I would love to fucking play them. As we're talking about this, I realized that every MOBA that like is released in Web 2 is the same version of some 3-lane fucking shitty map where you're doing one world boss and you try to kill a next. It's Unite. Here's the New Earth. Here's the Storm. League of Legends. Dota. For whatever reason, Web 3 has seemed to like attract a ton of absolute fucking lunatics who take the MOBA genre and add really unique twists to it. So in the case of Tearing Spaces, it was MOBA but dungeon crawler. In the case of Sparkball, it was MOBA but we're playing soccer now. In Wildcard, it's MOBA but it's also a TGE summon game. I feel like that hasn't happened a whole lot in Web 2. Might just be ignorance. If you've got examples, send it to me. That was just me being jealous or selfish, Sam. I would have wanted to see if there are any more games like that I could play.
Knock, I have an idea for a MOBA. Let's make it. I honestly do. I think that if I dream of making MOBAs. Knock, let's do it.
Oh no.
Let's do it, Jerry.
Yikes! Fucking bearish, boys. Send it to zero. Just bang. Yeah, you also were hitting them with the thumbs down. Was that just you were also afraid that they were dissing the art style or something more?
It was, yeah, I was, but I actually really like the point that he made, and I think it's really interesting. Pixel art games are awesome because there's less you can do with the art. It's so much easier to tell when it's soulless. I feel like it's a lot easier to identify a soulless pixel art game because it doesn't have that kind of like crispness and connectivity and life that someone who really loves those games puts into it. So I say Web3 games, please keep trying to make pixel art games, but just know it's obvious when you're not doing it right. Um, and I thought Sinjin's point about clones was really interesting, because I 100% agree in like the triple, like let's say triple A, although I hate using that. Let's say the triple A space, making like a clone isn't profitable, but on mobile, go ahead, make a clone and that will roll bank. Basically every indie game that comes out and is a top hit on Steam within 3 weeks, some Israeli or Ukraine mobile studio has put that out onto mobile and is making millions more than that small indie game could ever hope to make. And it's depressing, and I think they should go to zero. But the fact of the matter remains that they're printing bank right now. But yeah, just wanted to point that out
Bro,
so everyone can be depressed.
that's not really like being a clone. That's not what I was meaning. But that's just pure out theft.
Exactly, it happens.
I just want to say that I mean this fully. Pixel art sucks. Stop championing it.
I,
No, dude,
I,
no.
I don't want to catch the smoke, but I might agree with Jerry just a little bit, just a hair, just a sprinkle. I agree with Jerry on that one. It's a little bit overdone, a little bit lazy, etc. Especially with AI. Oh God,
Yo, this is so
there's gonna be
crazy.
so
This
many
panel
mediocre
today is
pixel games,
lost
Koji.
its fucking mind.
There's
You guys are.
Yeah,
This is. I might not show up next week. This is insane. What's happening here?
dude.
You
it's
guys
bad
are.
in
Can I
Web3.
just say,
It is bad in
like
Web3.
pixel art minus like the AI advancements right now actually is a real pain to actually develop because you have to make each like graphic. I mean, you guys don't understand what goes into pixel art. I mean,
No,
like
no, no. I do.
it is a fucking huge.
I
Yeah,
do. I just
it's
also
a huge
played
accomplishment.
Pokemon
Yeah,
Red and Blue 27 years ago, and I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of ready for.
yeah, dude. It's like building cathedrals was hard as fuck 700 years ago, and we stopped doing it for that reason.
And the
You
world is
uncouth
more soulless for
American.
it.
All right.
Lems, you get the last word on this one. Tell me your MVP as well, brother.
I'm actually just shocked no one mentioned TCGs, and I don't know if it's just because Koji's on the panel. Like, I'm not saying that, but just because it felt like in Web3 we've had so many TCGs, Pokemon clones. I'm third-person hero shooters. I'm building Fortnite with NFTs or League with NFTs, which is kind of to Sinjin's clone point from earlier. I'm just shocked that I mean, shooters did get mentioned at the start, but yeah, I'm surprised TCGs didn't get rained on. I would say, yeah, puzzles or platformers to me just make no sense, kind of like the Knox point on single player. But I'm just actually shocked that those other genres didn't get mentioned because it felt like for the last few years they were just overdone to absolute death. And oh, I don't know who to go with MVP. Like the beef between Koji and Tatted has been pretty amazing all episode. Um, I'm going to give it to Koji to try and encourage him to come back next week because I don't want you to get feel like you're not loved here anymore because you get beefed on stage.
Koji, who's your MVP, brother?
Uh, who's my MVP? That's a good question. Everyone here has collectively lost their minds. Um, but I still do enjoy it here. I think you know what I'm actually gonna go. Uh, I'm gonna go with the touted lawyer because not because I agree with the takes, but I like the defense. In a Trump-esque fashion. Well, knowing that you are totally wrong, refusing to give up. I very much appreciate that. So I'm gonna vote him for MVP.
incredible, incredible positioning. Tatted usually it wins the MVP in my head just because he says things that people disagree with, and it's spicy, man. It's fun. Let's go over to Michael. Michael, who's your MVP, brother?
Yeah, I'm gonna first off thank you, Koji. You know, the last horse finally crossed the finish line. I love it. But I'm going to give my MVP, I think, to
Ooh.
Jerry. I think Jerry had some really, really great takes today. He also understands the what can happen with this Trump thing and the Trump game, and I really enjoyed his takes. So I'm going to give it to Jerry. Also, Koji, I hope you know I'm just joking, brother. I like your takes as well. Let's see who's going to be right in the end. You know what I mean? We got it's all wait and see game now.
It's all a wait and see game, man. I've been saying that for 113 episodes. All right, let's go. Let's go to Jerry. Jerry, who's your MVP?
Yeah, I kind of echo what Koji says from like an opposite way. In that what somebody once said, I forget who the guy was, but he said this whole panel has IBS. And I think that was very true today. You guys do say some crazy shit sometimes, and I'm just like, how do you guys think about this? With that said, the MVP is somebody who made great points all throughout the show, and I really didn't disagree with much. Tad Lawyer killed it today.
Wow, had me waiting with bated breath. You delivered that like you were announcing movie of the year at the Oscars. I appreciate it. Let's go over to Will Spangler. Spang, who's your MVP?
It's a tough one for me this week. I want to give it to Koji because I often resonate a lot with Koji's old manedness towards the entire industry. Um, and I enjoy the way to call things out as they are, which is most of the time shit. Um, but I also like the tattered lawyer and his a similar thing, but with a little bit more energy. I think I'm gonna give my MVP to Koji, but the main thing I want to do is shout out Matt for the Genghis being one of the best Khans joke at the start because that was an all timer. I'm gonna be using that everywhere I go.
You know, if it's living rent free in his head, like an hour and 45 minutes later, had to be pretty good. Matthew Buxton, who's your MVP?
I'm going to go with John because John basically said the thing that I've wanted to say so much is that basically people who don't know how to do this shit should stay the fuck away from the shit. And he knows the pain. I can hear the pain in his voice of those years of making games and fucking shipping them and doing more than the entire space has done in like 5 years with one game. I feel your pain. I am your kin. Nice beard. I rock with that.
What? That's just went from like compliments to flirtatiousness.
It's all good. I'm just trying to seduce him into the beard
Send
down.
me a DM afterwards
Yeah, dude,
with my
join
Zoom's
the
open
beard,
over.
join the beard down.
That's going to be a DM session is going to be a therapy session mixed with an invitation to come on a podcast if I know where to put my money. John Radoff, though, who's your MVP, brother? Great work today.
I'm going with Sinjin because he's keeping his fuck brand alive. Everyone tried to drop so many f bombs today, but Sinjin just stood out. I think you should stop trying to dilute his brand. I'm personally going to go with fracking. If anybody remembers old Battlestar Galactica, I just got to carve out a different space for me because too many people are throwing this word around.
I just know fracking from my personal hero, George Bush.
Jesus Christ. Knock, who's your MVP?
Oh my god, dude! Uh, I was gonna give it to. I think there's an even toss up between Koji and Tatted for vehemently defending their points all episode long. Uh, Disagreed with a lot of those takes, so I'm gonna give it to neither of them, and I'm gonna give it to Sinjin for being the only person who consistently called every single person on this panel a fucking idiot without most people realizing it. Also, just Sinjin, I think, got my Monopoly money joke better than anybody else because he comes from that world, and that made me feel good to see him spamming that emoji. Yeah, this panel's fucking madness.
All right, Sinjin, who's your MVP, brother?
This one's a tough one. Okay, I'm gonna say this. I'm not giving it a tatted lawyer, man. That fucking takes, man. Like I feel like who is this guy?
You don't even know.
You know, Koji is like I think Koji always wrecks it every week, and then I think John had some very solid takes as well. But I'm giving it to Matt. There were a few things that Matt said. I think usually Matt goes on like this kind of rant on repeat, and so like yeah. But today, I mean, he was really got into things, and you know that passion, that's definitely there. I just really love seeing that, and you know, you can tell like this guy, he fucks, he ain't no virgin.
This is why I gave it to Sinjin. He literally just said Matt usually sucks, but he was pretty good this week, so I'll give it to Matt.
All right, guys. Well, we have a two-way tie between Koji and Sinjin, and actually a three-way tie: Koji, Sinjin, and Tatted Lawyer. Three-way tie between these three stellar people. Well, I said at the beginning of the MVP voting, most times Tatted Lawyer wins in the back of my head because he's just willing to add some spice to the panel, diverging opinions. So, Tatted Lawyer, I'm giving you 60 seconds of FaceTime. Congratulations on an MVP, brother. What do you want to say?
Hey, I love it. I love it. Second MVP. It feels great. First, I want to just say to everybody who didn't understand the watch this drive joke or reference, you have failed. Like, go home, go study your internet memes. What are you even doing here if you don't know what I'm talking about? Second, check out Andromeda. We're the only company that's been able to close money this quarter. We are about to be announced as the flagship company and flagship game of a certain very, very fast growing chain. Announcements coming next week. We have our first game launching on Nintendo Switch in about 2 months, so stay tuned. Make sure you're keeping up with Swarms, and we're just here to keep the vibes high. Really love everybody on this space, despite our differences. I love all your takes, and I think this is always so much fun. So just happy to be here, happy to be surrounded by people making the industry better, and let's fucking go.
Great to have you as always, man. It's been a blast since a couple of months ago we started getting you on the show, and I have a great time every time, and glad you do too. I got to remind you guys that Avalanche is the official chain of gamified, and it's more than just a blockchain. It's a winter wonderland of innovation. They have an $100 million AI fund in partnerships with gaming giants like Gunzilla Games, T1 Esports, and Solo Leveling. Avalanche is breaking the ice and setting the standard for the future of Web3 gaming. So whether you're a seasoned pro or a curious newbie, come explore the avalanche of possibilities and discover a world where the snow never melts and the fun never stops. And I'm calling all cosmic crusaders and spacefaring scoundrels because Star Atlas is about to ignite the gaming galaxy with a pulse-pounding space race where velocity and valor are your keys to victory. Join the Discord, get a game key, and play the preseason to prepare for a year of stellar surprises in 2025. And you got to get ready to rumble with the gaming gatekeepers who are flipping the script and giving the power back to the players. They're the ones that are turning the metaverse into a melting pot of ideas, a crucible of creativity, and a breeding ground for innovation. And grab your game pads and get ready to conquer with the next era of gaming with Game 7, the official infrastructure of Gamified. Guys, it's been a real fun episode. I can see that Jesse Pollock is currently on a space explaining what the hell just happened with base. Already 4,000 people listening to that one. So maybe slide in there and see what happened. Koji with the hand up.
We all know I won this one. Stop the CO, Sam. This is ridiculous. But thanks for having me.
The only thing you have to stop is from becoming the 51st state, Koji. Keep it up. Maybe soon Parallel will increase the GDP of Canada single-handedly. I'm looking forward to that.
We can't wait to add you, Koji. We can't wait, my fellow future citizen.
I think my American friends need to revisit that monopoly money joke. Once you figure it out, I think it's going to hit a little bit harder.
Well, in reality, there'll probably be a territory or a colony first, but we'll get you into the statehood
Yeah,
soon.
they got to earn their way in, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
real Puerto Rico energy coming out of Canada these days. All right, guys, it's been a great show. Thanks so much to all my amazing panelists. Thanks to everybody in the audience. We love you guys. We'll be back same time, same place